proceed about this topic, I would like to introduce to you my members for this afternoon. By the way, again, I am Kazel, your first reporter, will discuss to you about the introduction of setting objectives and making strategic choices. Table 6.1, the comparison of objectives and goals, the long-term and short-term objectives, while Ms. Hansel will talk about the strategic objectives on how you will write it. And also, Ms. Hansel will talk about the portfolio models, the 8-step scenario, and the behavioral aspects of strategic choices. The third reporter is Ms. Reyes Secundo, will talk about the Table 6.2 examples, strategic choice, and tools for corporate level strategic choice. While Mr. Lachica will talk about the advantages and limitations of portfolio model, tools for business level strategic choice, SWOT analysis, and scenario planning. Ms. Janica Mentes will discuss about the criteria for strategic choice, global dimensions of the strategic choice, and standardization versus the customization.
So last discussion po, we talk about the internal and external audit, which is a big factor po in strategic management. But now, this afternoon po, we will talk and we will focus on setting objectives and making strategic choices. As you know po, setting objectives and making strategic choices is the third step in strategic management framework. Actually po, a company may reconsider their objectives and strategies, especially if they encountered unexpected changes or unexpected situations. So one of this example po is yung pag-occur ng pandemic, yung tinatawag nating COVID-19. So yung COVID-19 po, marami siyang naapektuhan ng economy, yung tao, and yung mga business industry natin. Sa business industry po natin is they need to stop their operation, they need to stop their production para masunod yung protocols na protocols na pinatupad ng government natin during the past 2 years of COVID-19. So, because of the stop of the operation, yung employees natin, they need also to stay at their home. They need to stay at their home to be safe, to also avoid the increasing rate of COVID-19 during that time. So, it means na once na nag-stop yung operation, nag-stop yung production, yung economy natin bumababa rin. And by this time, a lot of people are affected because of unemployment. Saan sila kukuha ng panggastos nila? Saan kukuha ng mga basic needs? Ano yung panggagastos nila? So a lot of people been struggles about this kind of situation. So, well, so yung objectives and strategies may also have to change. So one of the business organizations strategy is yung magkaroon, bigyan or mag-provide ng PC, ng laptop, ng internet para din sa mga employees nila to continue run their business. Kasi hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na kailangan nilang mag-stop talaga. So once na nag-stop talaga yung operation ng business na yun, malulugi talaga yung mga kumpanya na meron tayo ngayon. And also, magkakaroon din ng problema sa economy natin. Kasi one of the reasons or nakakatulong din yung mga business sector, yung mga business industry natin when it comes to our economy. So it is very important po for a company to conduct an internal and external audits on a regular basis in order to craft their objectives and yung mga strategies po na ginagawa natin as a responsive to the needs of the changing times. So actually, the figure 6 in the strategic management framework. Well, other groups po discuss about the value creation and so on and so forth. So, setting objectives in this module, objectives define what the organization wants to achieve, while strategies represents the pathways by which the organization will achieve the objectives. So, yung objectives are yung objectives po is sinasabi ko, ano bang gusto mong mangyari dun sa organization mo? Ano ba yung pinakang expected na mangyayari dun sa isang organization? Ano ba yung gusto mong mangyari? So, while yung strategies po ay yung representation of the pathways or yung tinatawag natin na process or yung actions na pwede natin gawin during the implementations of the strategies. So therefore po, strategic objectives are target sets to both motivate and direct organizational activity. So they represent levels of performance we wish to achieve within a defined time. So our strategies also have a framework, time frame. So etong strategies na to dapat kailangan naka-time frame siya kung kailan mo siya gagawin and kung hanggang saan dapat siya matatapos. So as well as yung standards of performance against which we can evaluate our progress in achieving the organization mission and vision. So sa setting objectives, we also think about the mission and visions kasi kasama dito kung ano ba yung while crafting our mission and visions, it means that we're also doing the objectives and the strategies on how we will achieve this mission and vision. So of course we will talk about this discussion po kasi we will encounter the objectives and goals and we need to compare the objectives and goals. Ano nga ba yung pinagkaiba nila? So, table 6 is the comparison between the objectives and goals. So, yung objectives po natin is dinedefine siya as the organizations wants to achieve or yung sa specific, ito yung sinatawag natin specific milestones which a person plans to achieve in a limited period. So, dito sinasabi dito, ano ba talaga yung pinakang gusto mo? Kailangan mong himayin kung ano yung pinakang gusto mong ipakita dito sa objectives mo or objectives ng isang organization. So, these are precise, measurable, time-based actions that assist in the achievement of goal. Of course, your objectives, you need to be precise and concise. You need to be specific. Hindi mo na dapat kailangan gawing general. While yung goal natin, tinatawag tong yung lifelong. Yung lifelong na tinatawag natin is your goal should focus sa mga strategies na pwedeng i-run throughout the time of the organizations or yung tinatawag natin na 3 to 5 years na goals natin sa organization. Which an individual or entity and to achieve something. So, it determines po yung mga companies attempting to accomplish. So, yung goals po is more focused on the accomplishment of the organization. So, what is it? So, yung yung objectives is yung pinakang focus niya means to an end. While the goals is yung end result. So, dun sa means to an end, ini-specify mo pa lang or tinatarget mo pa lang kung ano pa yung pwedeng mangyari, kung ano dapat yung hypothesis or yung expected output mo. Well, the goals is yung end result. So, ano na ba yung naging resulta ng strategies mo? Ano na ba naging outcome during your actions or during your implementation of the strategies and the objectives you have formulated? So, yung basis natin sa objectives is, of course, facts. While yung goals natin is ideas. So, sa time frame naman natin, it could be medium term or short term. Pwede natin dito sabihin sa mga objectives natin as a time frame yung mga 6 months to 1 year or 3 to 5 months. While yung goals natin is a long term. For example, dito po is pagkakaroon ng goals during the time period of 3 to 5 years. Sa reality, concrete, while the goals is abstract. So, sa goals po is yung abstract. Of course, it is a logical and creative dapat yung ginagawa dito. While the objectives is yung concrete, specified, and so on, specific. So yes, we have the long-term and short-term objectives po. So pag sinabi nating long-term or yung long-term, ito po yung broadly specify the major direction of the organization and link the mission of the organization to organizational's actions. Pag sinabi po nating long-term objectives, ito yung mga in-specify na major direction ng isang organization o yung tinatawag natin na yung plan of actions or yung objectives mo should be timed in 1 year or 3 years to 5 years. While yung short-term objectives or yung short-term is considered or yung annual. So kapag sinabi nating annual, it is period of 1 year or less po. So they may focus on the rates of sales growth, market shares, targets, and profitability measures or yung other targets. Ano ba yung kahalagan ng objectives during the implementation or during the formulating strategies and objectives of the organization? Actually po, objectives can reflect yung mga priorities of the company, and you should set it properly. At makakatulong to para sa pag-create ng coordination ng activities mo across the functions and yung activity na pwede mong i-center during the fostering synergies. And also, yung dito sa objectives, makakatulong din to para sa mga stakeholders for them to understand their role in organizations. Their role in organizations future and ano ba yung mga dapat nilang gawin, ano ba yung mga positions nila, ano ba yung pinakang focus nilang gawin. And ito rin yung magpo-provide as a basis ng as a basis of their consistent decision making by the managers po and whose values and backgrounds differ. It also provides po yung sa mga basis for company or organization and job design. It will also serve po in standards by which divisions and departments, work groups, and the individuals can be evaluated. Sa objectives and goals will be actually mapagpapalit-palit natin sila ng mga terms natin during the discussion. But the first thing that you need to do or kailangan nilang isipin is yung objectives, ito yung can be measured, precise, and concise, while the goals is focus on ano yung ini-aim ng isang organization or pinakang outcome na expected. So, sa example po natin dito, so a restaurant short-term objective may be to increase the number of dinners served per month by 10%. So, kung titingnan po natin, yung objectives lang po, yung pinaka-short-term objectives netong restaurant is focus lang dun sa dinner time. While kung lalagyan natin ng long-term objectives, is isasama natin yung lunch and yung dinner time. So, if your restaurant serves breakfast and lunch too, it is better to have a long-term objective na increase the number of breakfast, lunches, and dinner serves per month by 5% per year for each of the next 5 years po. So, next reporter po. Thank you.
I am Hansel A. Lopez, your next reporter. So let's proceed to the writing strategic objectives. Objectives can be effective in their various roles only if stated properly. The SMART format is one way to state objectives in clear and action-oriented way. So let's define first the objective. So the objective is something toward which effort is directed, an aim or an goal. A goal siya yung objective, and magiging effective lang yung isang objective kapag siya ay stated properly, kung nagawa ito ng maayos, kung na-construct yung objective ng maayos. And may ginagamit na SMART format, which is help the objective to be more clear and action-oriented way para maging organized siya, well organized. So objectives must be specific. Consider who, what, when, where, why, and how in developing the objectives. So in objectives, we must consider the specific, yung being specific kung ano talaga yung main goal mo. I-consider kung sino, saan, kailan, paano at bakit. Siyempre, kailangan mo sagutin yung mga tanong na yan para wala nang maiwang question mark sa'yo, at siyempre, wala ka nang maisip na may kulang pa. The second one is measurable, nasusukat. Include a numeric or descriptive measurement. So, here sa measurable, kinukonsider niya dito yung numeric or descriptive measurement. So, syempre, when you are setting a objective or an goal, it's really important na ma-measure mo siya kung hanggang saan lang yung limit niya, yung kaya niya, para syempre matansya mo yung kapasidad. Achievable. Consider the resources needed and set a realistic objective. So, when we say achievable, yung kayang-kaya natin i-achieve yan. Kino-consider yung pangangailangan lang at yung realistic, yung realidad. Ibig sabihin, yung kaya lang i-achieve na objective. So, number 4 is the relevant. Sa relevant, make sure the objective is consistent with the mission. So, sinisigurado dito sa relevant na connected pa din sa mission yung objective na ginawa natin. Siyempre, anong sense kapag, di ba, kapag wala na yung connection nila sa isa't isa kung di na siya relevant. So, the next one is time-bound. It set a realistic deadline. Managers set long-term objectives in several key performance areas such as profitability, productivity, growth, market position, shareholder wealth, technological position, employees, organizational reputation, and social responsibility. The specific metrics within each performance area will vary depending upon the size and type of organization. Given example is days profit, non-profit, government, and its values. So, it means dito sa time bound, nagsiset siya ng realistic deadline. So, yung deadline kung saan, when we say realistic, yung kaya-kaya natin siya i-achieve na matatapos natin siya with a realistic deadline na alam natin na matatapos natin siya. Pag sinet natin yung deadline na yun, na ganun yung magiging date. So, kunwari, alam mo sa sarili mo na, bigay tayo ng example na madali lang. Halimbawa, yung binigyan ka ng activity sa G-Classroom. So, kunwari, binigay siya today, tapos next week yung pasahan. So, realistic deadline yun kasi imposible hanggang next week di mo pa matapos yung isang activity, di ba? So, yun yung simple example niya. Yun lang, na may allotted time talaga siya para matapos mo yung, may allotted time, may sapat na oras para matapos mo yung activity na yon.
A pleasant morning, everyone. I am Rhea Secundo, and I will be reporting about the strategic choice. So, what is a strategic choice? Strategic choice involves identifying alternative courses of action designed to move the firm toward its strategic objectives and assist in selecting the courses of action deemed most appropriate. These courses of action are known as strategic alternatives. These alternatives do not just materialize the company's existing strategies, mission, and vision, objectives, and understanding of both the internal and external environments guide the creation of strategies. So, when we say strategic choice, it refers to the decision which determines the future strategy of a firm. It is a technique used of a company to gain more profit and/or increase the sale. The best example of strategic choice is anticipating a change in consumers' taste and introducing a service to take advantage of that change before competitors do. Kumbaga, you are foreseeing the customer taste. Aalamin mo kung ano yung mga gusto nila or kung ano yung mga trend and make a way bago ka maunahan ng mga competitors mo. So, there are 6 elements or dimension of strategy which must be considered in strategic choice. The first 4 apply to any business, while the remaining 2 apply to organization with more than 1 business unit. So, there are 6 elements nga po of dimension of strategy which must be considered in making a strategic choice. Yung first 4 daw po is can apply to any businesses, while the remaining 2 is ina-apply in an organization with 2 business units or more than 1 business units. So, in the crafting of strategy, the firm must make choices regarding the following. Ang una is yung the product market in which the business will compete, which defines not only the market it is wishes to serve but the competitors with whom it will compete. Ang unang strategy na dapat mong i-consider is yung place or yung location. Dapat alam mo kung saan may mas maraming consumer sa itatayo mong business. Like for example, you are thinking of a business of selling school supplies. Where do you think ka dapat magtayo ng location ng business mo? Siyempre, you will choose kung saan mas malapit sa school and then look kung gaano karami yung competitors mo doon sa location mo na yon. And ano yung mga dapat mong gawin or mga strategy na dapat mong isipin para mas bumili sa'yo yung mga customer. So, yung next, the level of investment made in a business which can vary from the significant investment required to enter or grow a market, to investment to maintain current position in the market, to investment designed to maximize short-term profit while preparing to exit the business. So, yung next is yung the level of investment made in a business which can vary from the significant investments required to enter or grow a market, to investment to maintain current position in a market, to investment designed to maximize the short-term profit while preparing to exit the business. So, level of investment also considered in making strategy choice. Level of investment can vary from first, para maka-enter ka sa business mo. Second, para ma-maintain mo yung business mo. Then, ang last is an investment designed to maximize short-term profit. Parang dinedepende nila kung gaano kaliit or kalaki yung level of investment nila sa business nila. So, yung next is the functional area strategies needed to compete in the market, such as product positioning, pricing, sourcing, manufacturing, distribution, and information technology. So, one of the important strategy in a business is the product positioning, pricing, sourcing, manufacturing, distribution, and information technology. Dapat alam mo kung paano mo ipoposition yung product mo, kung magkano yung ipipresyo mo dun sa product mo, or kung ready na ba yung manufacturing, distribution, and yung information technology mo with regards sa for making a strategic choice. So, yung next naman, yung pang-apat, strategic assets or competency that underline a strategy and provide sustainable competitive advantage for an organization with multiple businesses. So, strategic assets are anything rare and valuable that a firm owns. They include plant, equipment, location, brands, patents, and customer data. A particularly valuable strategic asset is a company's brand. Kumbaga, i-check mo kung ano yung mga assets mo na makakatulong para magkaroon ka ng mga strategic decisions. So, yung next is the allocation of financial and non-financial resources over the business units. So, financial resources are based on a contractual claim rather than physical net worth. It includes stocks, bonds, bank deposits. Meanwhile, non-financial resources is determined by the value of its physical traits and includes items such as real estate and factory equipment. Non-financial assets play an important role in determining a company's market value and ability to borrow. So, yung next naman po is yung the development of synergistic effects across businesses. That is, the creation of value by having business units that support and complement one another. One of the strategic choice that the entrepreneur must be considered is the synergistic effect. Synergistic effect is an excess or increase in the value of a company as a result of the impact of some factor or as a result of a business reorganization. Dito, you have to have another business units that can support and complement both businesses that you have. So, yung next naman po is yung tools for corporate level strategic choice. Corporate or organization level strategy focus on two major issues. First, yung determine the organization's business scope, such as the choice of businesses in which to compete and how organizational resources are allocated to this business. Virtually in every organization, an underlying bias toward growth exists and drives strategic choice, at least in the long run. So, nagpo-focus nga po yung corporate level strategy choice in two major issues. First, in determining the organization business scope, such as the choice of business in which to compete. Dito, is inaalam kung ano yung business na i-build mo or yung kung ano yung gusto mong pasukin na business. Second is how organizational resources are allocated to this business. Companies can allocate resources to products according to a tightly controlled, centralized plan or by setting goals and letting lower levels of organization make the resource allocation decisions. So, one of the tools for corporate level strategic choice is yung portfolio theory. Portfolio theory, also called modern portfolio theory, which was conceptualized by Harry Markowitz, holds the assets should be chosen on the basis of how they interact with one another rather than how they perform in isolation. According to this theory, an optimal combination would secure for the investor the highest possible return or a given level of risk, or the least possible risk for a given level of return. So, ano nga ba yung portfolio theory? Ang portfolio theory nga po is yung conceptualized by Harry Markowitz. It refers to an investment theory that allows investor to assemble an asset portfolio that maximizes expected return for a given level of risk. The theory assumes that investors are risk averse. For a given level of expected return, investors will always prefer the least risky portfolio. Yun naman po, thank you.
So let's move on to the portfolio models. The portfolio models of strategic management rely on certain principles from the finance discipline as tools of strategic choice. Portfolio models treat business units as investments and therefore can be used to guide decisions related to the allocation of investment capital and other organizational resources, and the overall achievement of a balanced portfolio also. So, it was based sa certain principles ng finance discipline para gamitin tools para sa strategic choice. Yung portfolio models treat business units na kagaya ng investment siya at ginagamit para maging guide decisions na related sa allocation of investment capital at iba pang organizational investment. So, sa overall na achievement ng balanced portfolio. Sinasabi din na yung portfolio models is deciding where best to focus the organization's finite resources in order to meet strategic objectives. And in addition, considering the business as a portfolio of activities and making trade-off across the portfolio. Once the portfolio is focused, attention needs to turn execution. So, the two most popular of these are, so there are two kinds of portfolio models. So, number one is Boston Consulting Group or BCG Matrix. So, I'm not going to read this na, I'm going to explain na lang. So, the BCG growth stage matrix ay gumagamit ng single criterion dimensions. Pag sinabing single, syempre, isa lang. Ng market growth rate at related market shares. Ang market growth rate ay defined as the ratio of the firm share ng market sa kanyang malaking competitor sa industry. It's an internal variable and is a surrogate indicator sa strength ng isang business. So, when we say internal variable, guys, pag sinabing internal variable, it consists of variables being manipulated and measured. So, pag sinabi namang surrogate indicator, it is the substitute. So, as you can see the figure, this is the BCG matrix where you can see the question marks, the stars, the low market share, and high market growth. So, when the arrow is pataas, syempre high siya. Tapos low, makikita nyo dyan na low market share, tapos mataas naman yung market growth. Tapos sa baba niya, sa pangalawang row, the dogs, low market share pero no market growth din. Tapos on the other side, the stars, makikita nyo yung arrow na high market share siya and high market growth din yung kasama niya. So, the cash cows is, di ba, pababa na siya. High market share, pero low market growth siya. This is how it functions, or this is the cycle matrix niya. So, the number 2 is the second portfolio model is the GE McKinsey Business Green. So, dahil mahaba siya, I'm going to explain na lang kung anong meaning niya. So, yung GE McKinsey Business Green ay tinatawag din na market attractiveness business trend matrix. So the MAD of the model ay function ng isang market size at paglago, growth, customer satisfaction levels, quantity and nature of competition, price and margin levels, technology, regulation, and sensitivity of the category to economic trends. So, sinasabi din dito na ang pangalawang matrix ay business trend, kalakasan ng isang business. Evaluates the ability to compete in a market and its function of the size and growth rate at the firm. Market share by segment, customer loyalty, margins, distribution channels, technology skills, patent positions, and marketing and organizational skills. So, yung dimension, pwede mo siyang i-modify depende sa internal and external factors na kinoconsider na mas relevant sa isang business. So, next reporter.
Next, the advantages and limitations of portfolio models. First one, encourages top management to evaluate each business individually and to set objectives and consider resources. This is an advantage in a way that higher ups are more motivated to do the evaluation since it is easier for them to recognize their status. Through this way, they able to set their objectives or solutions while considering their available resources. Next is helps managers to recognize the inherent financial relationship between different business units. Just like BCG or Boston Consulting Group, they will able to determine their market shares properly in the industry. Yung mga investments and return of investments are mas nasa-secure nila. Next is requires the use of external data to supplement managerial judgment. This explains the second type of model, the GE McKinsey Business Queen, or yung tinatawag yung market attractiveness business trend matrix. Yung pag-decide ng management is mas na-strengthen since nakakuha sila ng mga external data or external data. These are the customers or consumers, suppliers, partners, and as well as their competitors. Next is graphic representations, makes interpretation and communication straightforward. Since naka-table na lahat ng data and may mga illustrations na naka-label such as symbols or drawings, communications or discussions are easier kasi naka-specific and direct to the point na. Next is the limitations. So the first one, the analysis is static in that it is based on a view of internal and external factors at a point in time. Static means there's no change. I think this means analysis are always the same if mag-base sa internal and external factors because it will always result in the same. Example of this is the competitors, which is an external factors and always present. So next, market definitions can be somewhat arbitrary in their form misleading. Arbitrary simply means made. Definitions are just made and complex to understand. That's why it is or can lead to or misleading. Next, understanding the success requirements for an industry is not always easy. Understanding is not enough. Talagang mahirap ang road to success. So next, using standardized strategies or a cookie-cutter approach to strategic choice is overly rigid and may lead to both missed opportunities and practical or even dangerous strategies. If the same strategies are always used and not adapting or trying a new one, there will be more missed opportunities and dangerous kasi minsan di nakuha yung strat na gagamitin sa sitwasyon. So next, portfolio analysis may give a strategies an illusion of scientific rigor and objective analysis, when in fact much intuition and qualitative assessment is necessary to use portfolio models. Nagiging illusion na siya sa mga strategists. So instead na qualitative or mga opinions, yung assessment na gagawin is nagiging scientific method na siya. Or yung model or yung analysis na ginagawa kasi naka-systematize na din. Next is some of the posted relationships that drive portfolio models have questionable validity given changes in production and technology. Nagiging questionable na yung validity na ginawa sa analysis since nagbabago lagi ang technology ng natin yan. Minsan nag-work as it is pero due to changes and improvement it should be also changed and adapt. That's why also relationship changes. So next is the tools for business level strategic choice. So hindi ko nababasahin ito. This is just an intro. Sinasabi lang dyan na ang business strategies are nakafocus on how to compete within in the industry. So ang pinaka-goal is how to take advantage sa competition. And business stats must lead on internal strength and minimize weaknesses, take opportunities and avoid threats. So next, the two techniques for generating strategies are as follows. So meron techniques sa paggagawa ng strategies. Una dito is yung SWOT matrix. So pamilya na po tayo dito, babasahin ko na. So SWOT matrix is a simple tool that may be used to generate alternative business level strategies. Constructing the matrix is a straightforward process of listing the organization's key strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. These factors were identified during the situation analysis. 4 different sets of strategic alternatives may be generated by matching strengths and weaknesses with opportunities and threats. We formulate SO strategies by considering ways in which our relative competitive strengths can be used to exploit opportunities. So, ito na po yun yung SWOT analysis na ang gumagawa na po tayo nito since junior high pa. And SO, strength strength and opportunities. Ginagamit natin ang strength to gain opportunities. And ST, strength and threat. Ginagamit natin ang strength to avoid threats. WO or weaknesses opportunities. Sinasamantala natin yung pagiging mahina o yung kahinaan natin para makagain ng opportunities outside the business. And WT or weaknesses and threats. Pag-focus naman natin is i-minimize na yung mga weaknesses and threats natin. Overall, ito daw po is just an alternative but not the main strategies. Pumipili lang dito kung ano yung the best na gawin. So ang isa pang technique na ginagamit is scenario planning. Scenario planning is a technique managers can use to formulate strategies and assess possible outcomes in different states of the environment. A scenario is a possible set of environmental circumstances that what the environment look like in the future. So, sa madaling salita po, ang scenario planning is paggawa ng assumptions on what the future is going to be and how your business environments will change over time. So, this part yung i-discuss pa po ni Hansel for further information. So, next reporter. Thank you.
So, let's proceed to the 8 steps in scenario planning. So, number 1 with it is the identify agenda, focal issue, and decision. So, dito, mahalaga na ma-identify, malaman, ma-discuss yung agenda, yung memo, yung plano, and then yung focal issue. When we say focal issue, it is a problem with nerve, spinal cord, or brain function. So, it's really important kasi, diba, health matters tayo dito. And, siyempre, yung mga desisyon sa isang senaryo. So, kailangan talaga yung pagplanuhan. So, for the number 2 is identify key forces in the local environment. So, when we say key forces in the local environment, yung mga maaaring makatulong sa'yo na nagtatrabaho sa environment. Siyempre, sa scenario planning, siyempre, tinitingnan mo yung bawat phases na ng mga maaaring mangyari. So, di ba, kapag key forces in the local environment, maaaring sila ay mga police, mga medics, mga NDRM forces, ganyan. So, it's really important na ma-identify natin sila para kapag nagkaroon tayo ng unexpected mga scenario, nakaplan na kung sino yung malalapitan natin ng tulong. So, 3 established driving forces. So, mahalaga din na nag-establish tayo ng driving forces, diba? Siyempre, para kompleto, and then, meron tayong forces when it comes to driving. So, number 4 is rank driving forces on impact predictability. So, it means na yun nga, it's sawig lang sa number 3 na kailangan natin, dito lang sa number 4, kailangan natin siya i-rank para ma-impact yung predictability, yung maaaring mangyari. So, number 5 is select scenario logics. So, pumili ng scenario logics yung mga possible na mangyari sa scenario. Siyempre, di ba, when we are imagining a scenario, mag-isip tayo ng meron tayong line up ng mga bagay na maaari una muna mangyari, tapos yung possible na pangalawang mangyari, pangatlo. Syempre, naglo-logic din yung utak natin, parang nagkakaroon siya ng brainstorming para makaselect tayo ng mga primary, mga main scenario na maaaring mangyari within the situation. So, flesh out the scenarios. So, this is the number 6. So, mga implikasyon siya. So, syempre, di ba, inisip mo na yung mga maaaring mangyari sa isang scenario. Syempre, yung mga implikasyon. Yung mga, syempre, yung mga happenings doon. Ganun siya. So, the number 7 is determine the implications. So, when we are going to determine the implications, siyempre, nakakatulog yun para sa situation na maging productive and maiwasan yung mga unexpected na happenings na maaari pang mangyari. So, di ba, prevention is better than cure, ika nga nila. So, the number 8 is determine leading indicators. So, number 8, alamin ang leading indicator. And a piece of that corresponds with future movement or charge in some phenomenon of interest. Determine leading indicators kung sino yung maaring mag-help sa inyo in the community if that unexpected scenario happens. So, next reporter na
Global dimensions. Firms that source, manufacture, or distribute in countries beyond their home base must employ either a global or a multinational strategy. So basically, we have in global dimension, we also have two different strategy, namely multinational and global strategy. So what is multinational strategy? It is also known as a multi-domestic strategy, means that separate strategies for different countries or parts of the world are developed and implemented autonomously. A multinational or multi-domestic operation involves a portfolio of independent business with separate investment decisions made for each country or region. While on the other hand, the global strategy involves coordinated rather than independent strategies for different countries as parts of the world. This coordination can relate to the choice of target countries or regions, the degree of standardization of products, services, brands, and marketing campaigns across countries, and location of value-added activities such as research and development, production and services with good customers and worldwide competitors in mind. The global strategy's main focus. So, these are the differences between strategy and multinational strategy. So, class, you must able to have your takeaways from the difference between global strategies and multinational or multi-domestic strategy. Basically, the global strategy main focus tends to the product or services. So, sabi po dito, ang global strategy mainly focus of products and services, while the primary focus of multinational strategy is location or geography. So, based din po sa na-research ko, basically, the two strategy is different from each other. Kasi ang multinational is focusing for the cost value of the country or market, while global strategy hindi siya nagfo-focus doon. Firms chooses global strategy for the following reasons. Scale economies, to the extent that firms can standardize product design, brands, production, distribution, and or marketing program across different countries or regions of the world. Global brand associations that communicate positive attributes such as innovativeness and product quality. Low-cost sourcing of raw materials and production due to lower labor rates and or comparative advantages of region. Investment and tax incentives of foreign countries. Cross-subsidization that allows for firms to use cash generated in one market to compete and build position in another. Avoidance of trade barriers by locating manufacturing or assembly plants in a host country. Competitors who already have or will soon globalize and access to specific markets that demonstrate significant potential. And lastly, use of common technical problems. So, to sum up, why firm choose global strategy rather than multinational strategy, it is because, therefore, firm chooses global strategy because, as a whole, it emphasizes economy of scale and offers greater opportunity to utilize innovation developed at the corporate level or in one country in other markets. You can also allow to take advantages using global strategy of emerging markets which are locations around the world have developing markets and continuing increasing economic growth. Standardization versus customization. Standardization, achieving maximum product through standardization of services, products and service design and delivery, achieving global economy of scale and lowest unit cost, which is an important of economies, product or production orientation. Standardization means one size fits all, while customization, on the other hand, refers to the tailoring of the campaign according to the needs of individual or groups of individual. There are high margin products where the volumes are low and buyers are few. So basically, the difference between standardization and customization. Ang standardization po ay nagpo-focus with the performances or needs of the masses ng kabuuan o maramihan, while customization attempts to meet the needs and preference of individual. So, ibig sabihin, individual or group of individual, nagpo-focus ang customization. So, thank you.
So let's proceed to the behavioral aspects of strategic choice. So here, strategic choice on any level, corporate, business, functional, or global, requires the contribution and consideration of people inside the organization. As a result, human behavior has a profound influence on strategy. For example, the characteristics of the senior management team, the organization's culture, and its beliefs about ethics and social responsibility come into play in a strategic choice, as they shape how individuals in the firm behave and what the firm seeks to achieve. Human behavior must also be considered when choosing strategies because people are a critical part of the implementation of any strategy. So here, strategic requires or consider the contribution at consideration ng tao sa loob ng isang organisasyon. Ang ugali ng tao ay may impluwensya sa strategy ng isang organization. Siyempre, it's really matter yung pag-uugali talaga ng isang tao. So, kunwari ganito yung senior management daw ninyo, ganito, ganyan. Ginagamit yung, sabi dito sa example, ginagamit yung, what do you call this? The organization's culture, the ethics, the beliefs, the social responsibility. So, imagine nyo, ganun yung senior management niyo, yung nagmamanage sa inyo. So, strategy in how individuals in the firm or organization behave at kung ano ang dapat nilang i-achieve as organization. Human behavior isa sa mga kinukonsider sa strategy. So, sinasabi dito na kapag yung senior management mo, sa kanya nagsisimula yung pagiging responsible, pagiging etiquette, pagiging educated, pagkakaroon ng good attitude and good communication, syempre, ma-adapt yun ng mga nasa lower niya, yung mga employee na ahead siya. Syempre, mahuhubog sila kapag ganun yung nag-i-inspire sa kanila, nagtuturo sa kanila, nagbe-mentor sa kanila, nag-guide sa kanila sa workplace man or sa organization. So, with that, yung individual, ma-enlighten nila sa kung ano talaga dapat yung i-achieve ng isang firm, ng company, kapag ganun yung attitude nila, yung social responsibility nila, ay yung pag naging ganun sila ka-social responsible towards their role. So, human behavior must also be considered when choosing strategies. So, kailangan talaga yung human behavior kasi guys, syempre kapag may different perception ka within your colleagues, 'di ba? Tapos hindi ka marunong makipag-communicate ng maayos, there's a possibility na magkakaroon kayo ng misunderstanding. So, una talagang tinitingnan sa mga ganitong sitwasyon, yung pag-uugali ng isang tao. Syempre, kailangan dapat ikaw ay makasama, maging responsible ka, and syempre, magkaroon ka ng paggalang. People are a critical part of the implementation of any strategy. So, nagiging parte talaga tayo ng isang strategy, ng isang workplace, ng isang organization kapag tayo ay nagiging united, na may pagkakaisa tayo sa isa't isa, at may mga tama tayong pag-uugali. So, let's proceed to the senior management team. So, singit ko lang, di ba nga, we all know that Mahatma Gandhi, di ba, kilala natin siya lahat, di ba? Isa siyang religious person. So, may kasabihan siya na, be the change you want to see in this world. So, kung gusto mo magkaroon ng pagbabago dito sa mundo, syempre, magsisimula yun sa sarili mo para makapag-inspire ka ng one another. So, let's proceed na tayo sa senior management team. Sa senior management team, may under siya na personal attributes. When we say personal attributes, ito yung traits you naturally have that make you unique and determine your effectiveness in certain job role. So dito, naniniwala ang bawat isa sa atin na may mga natural attitude tayo, natural traits tayo na nag-define na kaya tayo unique. So, bawat tao sa mundo, unique. Maaari nga, may mga bagay ako na nagagawa na hindi mo kaya. May nagagawa kang bagay na hindi rin kaya ng isa. So, may mga bagay talaga na mag-aangat sa atin para ma-define na unique tayo. Kasi, di ba, sa uniqueness, doon nakikilala yung isang tao. Di ba, yung mga artista, yung mga influencer sa TikTok, sa Instagram, paano sila nakikilala? Syempre, by recognizing them na mayroon silang unique na personality na nagkakaroon ng interest sa ibang tao na magustuhan sila. So number 2 is the organization context. So when we say organization context, it is another communication variable that influences the content and presentation of both internal and external communication. So, it deals with the internal and external communication, organization context. This is the context yung nilalaman ng organisasyon. And other communication influences the content. So, it deals sa content ng presentation ng internal and external communication. So, the third one is the decision-making process rather. So, in decision-making process, napaka-self-explanatory na to. Process of making decisions. So, di ba tayo, we are all aware na every team sa atin na nagkakaroon tayo ng decision-making process. Like, for example, organization sa isang group, o kaya pasimplihin natin, mga grouping sa reporting, kagaya neto, di ba? Nagkakaroon ng decision-making process kung paano kayo pupunta sa paghahati-hati ng trabaho. Siyempre, may mga desisyon kayong sinasang-ayunan at proseso iyon para makabuo kayo ng isang desisyon. Doon na kayo nagde-decide na kung sino dito kung sino ma-assign sa ganito ganyan, sino karapat dapat dito. So diyan siya proseso yung decision making. So senior management, team and organizational outcome. So dito syempre dito na yung part na naglalaman ng shared values, beliefs, attitudes, customs, personalities, and heroes na nadi-describe sa firm. So, dito siya, innovation, risk-taking, team orientation, people orientation, technological sophistication. So, dito ninyo na makita yung outcome ng ginawa ninyo. Yun yung resulta. So, let's proceed to the number 2. Organizational culture consists of shared values, beliefs, attitude, custom, norms, personalities, and heroes that describe a firm. Some common factors that distinguish cultures are the extent to which they exhibit the following characteristics. So, yung organizational culture, naglalaman siya ng mga paniniwala, ng mga values, mga pag-ugali, mga nakagawian, mga personalities, and magiging yung mga heroes na nagdi-describe sa kanilang organisasyon. Some common factors that distinguish cultures are the following. So, the innovation, yung pagbabago, team orientation, yung pag-orient sa team, technological sophistication, attention to detail, aggressiveness, stability, people orientation, and risk-taking. So, ilan lamang yan sa mga example ng kanilang mga katangian. So, dahil napaka-self-explanatory na yan, di na natin yung masyadong elaborate. Number 3 is personal ethics and social responsibility. So, pag sinabi nating personal ethics, di ba, parang it deals sa pag-ugali din natin and sa mga responsibility natin in social. So, it might be in our community. So, are the moral principles that define the behavior that a person believes is acceptable or right. Ethical framework of reference. So, naglalarawan ng ugali ng tao at paniniwala na katanggap-tanggap kung tama. So, utilitarian view is an ethical if it represents the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So, it means ethical siya na kapag nagpakita ng greatest good para sa greatest number of people. Sa greatest number na isang tao. The golden rule view. So, is the ethical of your behavior results in implications for others that you would not mind for yourself. In other words, do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. So, ethical ito kapag yung behavior mo ay nag-result ng implications sa iba na you would not mind for yourself. Do unto others as you would want others do unto you. Kung gusto mo ring gawin sa iyo ng kapwa mo, yung gusto mo, gawin mo din sa kanya. Siyempre, kung gusto mong gumawa ng kabutihan, kung kunyari gumawa ka ng kabutihan sa kapwa mo, syempre in return ganun din yung marireceive mo. Kaya kung hindi naman mabuting ginawa mo sa kapwa mo, syempre alam mo na yung babalik sa'yo, hindi rin maganda. Kasi hindi kailanman nagbunga yung pangit ng mabuti. Maling-mali yun, guys. So, individualism view. It is ethical if it serves your own self-interest. Tapos, ibig sabihin nito na it is unethical kapag nag-serve ka ng para sa sariling interest mo. So, moral rights view, it is ethical if it is protects and respects basic human rights. So, ethical lang ito kapag na pinaprotektahan mo yung at nirerespeto mo yung basic human rights. So, ethical ka lang kapag pinoprotektahan at rumirespeto ka sa karapatan ng tao. Justice view, it is ethical if it treats people fairly based on basic standard rules and law. So, ethical siya kapag tinatrato mo yung tao ng tama, pantay, base sa standards, rules, at batas. So, business ethics, let's proceed to the letter B, are the moral principles that define the behavior that the organization as a whole views as acceptable. So, business ethics means moral principles na nag-define ng behavior sa isang organisasyon bilang whole view as acceptable. So, letter C is corporate social responsibility or CSR, which is the obligation that it feels toward its stakeholders. So, it means na obligation na pakiramdam nito toward sa mga katrabaho niya, sa stakeholders. Economic responsibilities refer to an organization's obligation to be profitable and stay in business. So, ibig sabihin na itong economic responsibilities, responsibility ng organization na kumita at magstay sa business. Kumita at magstay sa business. So, ethical responsibilities refer to a company's obligation to respond to situations based on what it believes is right, just, and fair. It means na, ibig sabihin na itong ethical responsibilities na to, obligation ito kung saan yung kumpanya na magre-respond sa isang sitwasyon base sa alam nitong tamang gawin na makatarungan, tama, at pantay. So, let's proceed to the last one, the voluntary responsibilities. It also focus on doing what is right. So, nagpo-focusan to sa paggawa kung ano yung tama. Tama, makatarungan, at pantay. The difference, tough, is that when an organization takes on voluntary responsibilities, it is not just responding to situations. The organization is proactively trying to be a good corporate citizen by attempting to advance the well-being of individuals, organizations, and the society. So, nakapokus to sa paggawa din ng tama, makatarungan, at fair. Ang pagkakaiba ay kapag ang organization ay involuntary, nag-takes ng involuntary responsibilities, it is not just responding to situations. So, yun lang. Yun yung pagkakaiba niya sa iba. Yung same lang dito kasi para silang gumagawa ng tama. Kasi dito, voluntary responsibilities. So, that's all. Thank you.